Welcome to Makers of Tomorrow, the podcast where each episode we talk with founders, industry leaders, and innovators to explore the latest trends shaping brands and the consumer experience.
We are your hosts, Karine Mallet and Corey Gottlieb, founders of Replica, the social selling platform revolutionizing how brands connect, inspire, and sell in today's digital world. So whether you're a brand leader, entrepreneur, or just fascinated by the evolution of digital commerce, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Today, we're excited to welcome Victoria Quintino, one of the powerhouse minds behind the success of Larroudé, a brand that has quickly become a cult favorite for its bold, joyful, and empowering footwear. Victoria has played an instrumental role in building the brand's voice, community, and strategy, bridging fashion with purpose and creating a fresh blueprint for modern retail. In this episode, we dive into her journey, the evolution of Larroudé, and the lessons she's learned from working in a fast-paced, high-growth fashion startup. Let's dive in. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you on the show. We really appreciate you joining us. So why don't we start off with the beginning? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your path to how you got to be at Larroudé.
All right. So I actually, as a major, went to school for business and started working in finance, which I hated. Didn't feel like I was connected.
Too, by the way, did the same thing.
Didn't feel like, there was a purpose that connected me to what I was doing. And I really wanted to do something I was very passionate about. So started rethinking what I wanted to do next. And since I've always been really obsessed with fashion, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. For me, everything in fashion was more towards creative. I was never really a creative person. I was always, someone that really liked to crunch the numbers, more on the analysis. So I never saw myself working in fashion, like being in school and seeing people who were studying fashion. I always felt like they were more towards design and creativity. But once I actually started, to rethink my steps and started looking at what was out there, I had like an aha moment where I figured that, brands don't only need the amazing creatives and product out there, but it's, a business like anything else. Ricardo, our co-founder and CEO, always jokes that there's no fashion business, like it's a business like any other business. So there's fashion and there's business. And, it's business regardless. So that's when I was like, I could really be doing something that I'm passionate about while sticking to what I'm good at and, what I majored on. So of course, like all these brands, they still need all the operational, the financial side, the structure to make it work, strategy. So I started working in fashion. However, I'm Brazilian, so did go to school in Brazil and seeing like the opportunities there. After 2 years working, I saw that, the market wasn't really where I was going to thrive and wanted to have more opportunities, learn more, and kind of, see myself growing into a market where I felt that there was opportunity, and I didn't feel like that was too much the case there. So I decided to go to New York. However, I just got there with a suitcase and a dream. And I had always, being a fashion obsessive, I've always looked at Marina as, such a role model. I saw how she created her career in the US, having arrived there at 23 without also knowing anyone and starting her career from scratch. So she's always been, a true inspiration to me. Had, seen all her journey and how she got to where she got. At the time, she was fashion director at Barney's. Mm-hmm. So I saw that the first job that she was actually, able to get in New York after, sending tons and thousands of emails without getting any responses. Back then, there was no Instagram, no LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So it was even harder. And she found out that Candy Pratt-Price, who back then was editor-in-chief at style.com, did live in her building. So she asked the doorman and she was like, if I give you flowers and my CV and a kind of a cover letter. Would you deliver it to her? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And then Candy called her and asked her like, oh my God, you know, amazing flowers. Thank you so much. I don't have an actual job at the moment. But I do have something that is part-time. We have a project that's going to last a couple weeks. Would you be interested in coming to help? We need an extra hand. And she was like, yeah, sure, I can go do that. And she actually was there for 9 years. So because I knew that, I decided to do the same thing. So I found out where she lived and sent her flowers with my CV and a cover letter. And it was,
She must have loved that.
she did. It was, a very like full 360 moment. And, she asked me to go talk to her at Barney's. And back then, she was the fashion director. So she was very transparent and said that there wasn't anything in her team, but she was like, oh, there's always spots here, take a look at what's available. And if there's anything that you would like me to recommend you to, I would be happy to do so. And then back then there was a spot at the planning team, and she was able to kind of refer me to HR, and started working at Barney's. So we started to work together, even though we weren't in the same team. Like, she wasn't my boss. But we started to really connect and created a special bond then. And when she left Barney's and had the idea to create Larroudé, of course, sadly, Barney's was going bankrupt. So there wasn't anyone that was going to be left there. And she asked me if I wanted to help her create the brand and, take it from scratch to become what it became.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
I've been there since the beginning, helped both her and Ricardo, who joined her in this dream, to take it from zero to where we are now.
Oh, we're going to dig into that story because that's a great story. I think you know from our previous conversations, but Corinne has a very similar story. Came to the U.S. with nothing. Fashion director at Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman for many years. And, obviously we now own a company together called Replica Software. But yeah, I mean, that story really did resonate with us in many ways.
That's amazing.
So tell us a little bit about the brand. Like, what's your elevator pitch? Tell us, in 30 seconds or less, what the brand is all about.
So the brand is all about empowering women to feel good about themselves and feeling good about their purchase. Marina herself always had access, of course, to all these amazing brands out there. She used to be gifted a lot or be able to buy them at wholesale price. So she was always wearing, the best of the best out there. And one time she was at Parsons, giving an interview, and one of the girls there raised her hand and she was like, Marina, I just feel that, it's not because I don't have money to spend $1,000 in a shoe that I don't have good taste. Like, why is the only other option for me all these like made in China? There's no identity. It's either something that was copied or too basic with no quality that I can only wear it through a season and I need to throw it out. Why does it mean that because I don't have this money or this spending power that I don't have good taste? And she always took this, to her heart throughout the years. And when she decided and had her aha moment to create the brand, that's exactly the gap that we tried to fill in the market. Like, we feel that in ready to wear, there were many successful brands that were able to give this in between where they deliver quality for a price that, of course, is not cheap, but it's an affordable luxury, right? It's something that you feel good about your purchase. You don't feel guilty after buying it, or, when you buy something and you get home and you're like, should I have bought it, or something that she always saw.
So if I could kind of encapsulate that for you, the niche in the marketplace that you discovered, or that was discovered, was that there's obviously the high fashion luxury brands that, have very high price tags to their purchases, to their items. And then you have lots of other options, but the feeling is that why can't we still get luxury at a reasonable price?
Exactly. And then the brands that were out there at this kind of middle point were very niche. So they were specific to an occasion or to a specific style. There wasn't any brand out there that would be able to give a woman everything she needs for her closet, from day to night to going to work, going to a date, going to a wedding, picking up her kid at school. So like it's a full brand that can give you everything you need. It's a top of mind whenever you need shoes for any occasion, you can go to it. And not only that, being at Barney's, she would see that these brands would always come up with amazing prints, colors, and different styles. And in the end of the day, clients would go there. The demand was there. They would try it on, but then they're like, oh, okay, for $1,000 or for $1,500, I need to buy the black because that's going to justify me wearing it for, years, and not only for when this color it's the color of the season or anything like that. So we do feel like bringing joy and happiness to everyday's life of a woman, and having them feel that they can go and buy the pink shoe or the printed shoe and feel happy about it and not guilty is something that gives them pleasure, and it's what we're here for.
So Larroudé has such a joyful identity, like you mentioned. How do you ensure that this identity stay consistent across all part of the brand, like the product, the voice, the visual?
So our motto is actually, as a brand, is you, us, we all. So it means that we no longer see fashion as something like was seen in the past as an exclusive club, like a you can't sit with us club. It's all about embracing everyone and feeling that everyone is welcome to join. There is no age, body type, ethnicity, race, anything. Like everyone is welcome. We are happy to see different people styling shoes in different ways, or, we have some of our heels that, are very comfortable. And then we see older women wearing it for something like a very special occasion with a dress, and then younger women wearing it with jeans just to give it a little final touch to the look. So I feel in the end of the day, across our voice, our identity, our visuals. So, one of my favorite campaigns was one that we did. So it was like a grandma with her granddaughter. And they were able to, share the shoes, and each of them would style a different way. And you would see how, that would fit both of their styles. So we are here to make you feel good about yourself. And that's what we bring to the table with all our visuals and our voice.
Amazing. Okay, so let's dig into the business a little bit. Where are Larroudé products sold? I know you have an e-commerce site, and you're in brick and mortar locations. Just interested to hear a little bit about the distribution and also the revenue from each. Not the actual revenue numbers, but the percentages.
So it's great that you asked me this, especially towards brick and mortar. We actually pivoted our strategy a little in the last couple of months. That was because we noticed in these 5 years being in business where the market is going, and we realized how even these big retailers that we were selling, more than 70% of their sales did come from online. And there is a lot that in these retailers, it still operates in a very old school way, and that is very opposite of agile and nimble. And we are, as a startup, very disruptive and, always looking for the best way to do things. And we felt like sending all the product to all these retailers takes a long time, especially because shoes, are always put in boxes and they are heavy, so they take up a lot of space. And then this sending of product back and forth, and then whatever doesn't sell gets sent back, wasn't working for us. It's costly. It's not good for the environment. It's not efficient for anyone involved. And in the end of the day, the only reason why we were doing this was to operate how these retailers, how their standard operations.
An established marketplace that you didn't establish, but is kind of just there. So you're breaking some rules.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're here for. We have a mindset that we don't settle for the status quo. And if it doesn't make sense, we are challenging, what is being done. And so we realized that, why are we sending all this product if in the end of the day, 70 or even more than 70, depending on the retailer, is being sold online anyways, and that's being shipped to the client. So why are we shipping it to them and then having them ship to the client? The more we see where the industry is going and where our clients like to shop our products, it is online anyway. So We do still have a couple of specialty boutiques where our clients want to go and try the product in person. We decided with all the big ones, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Anthropologie, Amazon, of course, but all the other ones that we are in, we decided that it doesn't make sense to keep sending the product and then whatever doesn't get sold is sent back and then having them process it all in their warehouse. So we moved into a marketplace direction. And now any place that you do see a Larroudé product online, it is coming from us. It gets fulfilled by us. So that way we're more efficient. We are more sustainable, and, we save money on shipping in and out because we believe that the product should only be going one way. So once it gets sold to the customer, it gets sent to them. And until it's not sold, there's no reason for it to be, flying around.
So there's a few things that are very gutsy in that decision and a few things that I think are really brilliant. So the gutsy part obviously is, you would think with shoes and physical products like that, somebody needs to try them on eventually just to see how the fit is. But then you threw out the statistic that 70% of all of the sales in those brick and mortar stores are really come from their e-commerce. I guess the only connection we don't have is how many people went to the store first, tried on, understood the sizing, and then made a purchase. But you obviously made the calculation that even if it's a large percentage, it's not worth the effort. But what I really like about this strategy is it allows you as the brand to have your own connection with the consumer. And from the shipping to receiving, I'm sure you have the packaging, obviously you have the customer data, you can remarket to them. So it does establish a direct relationship with the client that you can then, work to continue and make a long-term valued client out of it.
Yeah. And then in the end of the day, we stopped seeing all these retailers as clients and just seeing them, as a channel. Like right now, the same way that
influencers, you're going right to the customer now and bypassing the traditional channels that really separated you from the consumer that's working, that loves your products.
And then from distribution to production, we, turned ourselves into a model that we call internally direct to demand, where we connect the consumer to our entire supply chain. So now we own our own factories and, being on top of what's selling and what's not, we know exactly what we need to reorder. Again, with these retailers, there were many things that weren't as agile as we would like. For example, we would only receive once a week their selling report. And now, of course, every sale that hits in, we need to fulfill. So we are notified right away. We know if a product is selling, like if we launch a product. Exactly. If we launch a product today and it starts selling, not only on our website, but in all other marketplaces, we'll know tomorrow that we need to place a reorder and we're not waiting for an entire week to receive that report.
So the marketplace that you're in is Amazon, and what other marketplace do you work with?
We are at Nordstrom's marketplace, Bloomingdale's, Anthropologie.
So you're on their e-commerce sites. You just not have physical products in the stores.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
We are at Hearst Bazaar's marketplace. We are at Amazon Luxury, a smaller and more niche one called Over the Moon. We were at Saks and Neiman Marcus. We just stopped recently. And let me think if I'm forgetting anyone.
And you maintain control of the brand on those third-party marketplace.
So that's another great question. And one of the reasons why we also decided to go into this direction. So being in marketplaces, it's self-service model where you're still in their channels and able to, get that visibility from the customers out there. But then at the same time, you have full control of the product. If they run a promo or anything that you don't want to be a part, you can immediately shut it off. So you have control of your stock and your product, and that gives you full control and power of your brand, which was something that, we were scared at times because we sold all this product and then they come back to us after a season like, oh, I want to return all of this to you as an RTV. And if you don't take it back, I'm running a sale. So we're at a position where, either I take this huge financial hit or, I'm going to have my brand lose the identity or, the value of it.
It's an amazing shift in our world that e-commerce now really does give you, the brand, the ability to connect directly with consumers as opposed to using these third-party entities, the retailers. And now you have great opportunity to go directly to those consumers, and you can still use the marketplace reach of some of these great brands and retailers, but you're, really developing the relationship through that marketplace directly with your consumer, which is great.
Yeah, and then in the end of the day, it's also good for them because they don't run this risk anymore with, buying these products. So it's not a margin anymore perspective. It's just a commission base where only after they sell a product, they're paid for it. And then they only need to pay us 30 days later. So it's an actual shift in their cash flow. It's a positive cash flow business where
it seems to work for everybody, and less space in the storage rooms and everything else, as you mentioned before. So, the one part that you miss, I guess, a little bit in that is the interaction with a person, somebody actually selling you. So the online equivalent to that is, affiliates and finding out who your product experts are and empowering them. So can you tell us a little bit about how you empower? And this is a great story. So I love this part. I actually know the answer here, but can you tell everybody, how you empower people to make recommendations of your products?
yes, a huge part of, something different that we launched with the brand was that we have a unique QR code in every single product. So different from what's out there where, if you're at a restaurant and you scan a QR code, everyone gets directed to the exact same link. With ours, every single QR code is unique. So if I scan and you scan yours, we're going to be directed to different places because they are all directed to that specific product itself that is unique. So once you scan the QR code, you plus Larroudé, we know that that product belongs to you. And that gets stored in your wallet. And every time, someone likes the shoe that you're wearing, be it in the street, someone in your family, someone that is your friend asks about the shoe and you share your link, if they buy through it, they get a discount for having it bought through you, and you get a credit for referring the product. So
It's
in the end of
ultimate in-person ambassador program.
exactly, so we turn every single client into a salesperson for us. So it's crazy because then in the end of the day, the more you share, the more credit you get in your account, and then you can buy more products and share more. So everyone becomes a salesperson for us.
So what I love so much about this is that Creed and I, created a business based on this consumer behavior. So in our world, a brand connects with replica software. You're able to curate any items from the brand's website. It generates a unique code, oftentimes, in a QR code. And then anybody can share that QR code, drives back to the brand's e-commerce site. So that's kind of standardized at this point. But what I love about what you guys are doing is that's an offline recognition of what's really happening in this world. Oh my God, I love your shoes. Where did you get them? Oh, you could get them too. Click on this QR code. Like, it is really just such a great, and I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, so we actually we filed for the patent back in 2020 when we first launched the brand and had this idea. And we actually got it a couple months ago now. So it was approved and it's patented. So the way that, nowadays everyone is always sharing. And I feel like with, so much ads out there, like people really want a real recommendation. So you get awarded for doing that and it's good for everyone.
Well, that's what we do with some of the beauty brands that we have. They empower this esthetician, the derms, and they have their QR code that's from Replica. And then when they recommend the brand directly to the patient after the treatment, and then that person go buy the product, they get also commissions and compensated for those recommendations through that QR code. So it is working. People just know how to do it, and it's just an easy way to track everything.
Oh, yeah. And the uniqueness here for Larroudé is that the QR code is right on the product itself.
Exactly.
Typically speaking, we would have the QR code available in somebody's app because they download our app, or even in the case that Karine just mentioned, dermatologists, estheticians, they actually have the QR codes in their offices so that they can recommend products right there. The patient just hits up the QR code as they're leaving the office, or even in the examining room. So, but again, what I love about this, it's right there on the product. If you love my
Exactly.
shoes, you can check out the same shoes, or purchase ones that you resonate with. But I'm going to get credit for that in one way, shape, or form, which is incredible.
Exactly.
How do you see technology playing a role in the next chapter of your brand?
So again, we decided to go in a very direct to demand route, right? So that makes us connect the supply chain to the end consumer. And that seems very easy, but it's not. There is a lot of technology needed behind it, because we don't have to follow these wholesale calendars anymore, because we're not doing these physical big buys, and we are launching products in a much more efficient and fast way. We were able to really recognize patterns faster. And of course, for that, we do need a lot of data, technology, AI, to be able to realize what specific trends or why that product launched in a week and sold over 1,000 pairs, and another one that is similar didn't. And through that, translate into what other products should we be doing that are kind of, similar. Or recently we launched our first sneaker, and it was a huge success. So Marina and I were like, oh, we need to do it in more colors. And Ricardo was like, okay, let's launch one tomorrow. And we told him like, no, wait, we still need to do a sample, see how it looks, and then we can launch it. And he was like, no, just get the product, tell AI to make it in the color that you want and launch it. If people start buying, we'll produce it. So that is an amazing thing about our pre-order model and direct to demand. We're able
Incredible. I mean,
to
talk
test.
about talk about the research and development that you don't have to do with the use of AI in that particular case. It's incredible.
Exactly.
So that's how you use technology to help the brand to identify trends and hot products and what's the next thing. How do you take let's say a first time customer and make them into a returning customer? Like what's the connection you have with that customer once they buy that first pair of shoes, aside from obviously the QR code?
Yeah, exactly. So there is this QR code that essentially was how we started our loyalty program. So it's all based through the QR code. The way for you to enter our loyalty program is scanning your first QR when you buy your first shoe. So of course,
Which
like
is
there's
also brilliant. I just have to say, it's also brilliant because how many times have we talked to brands and that they would like to create a loyalty program? Their success rate is relatively small as a percentage of, total customers as to how many people join the program. But here, there's no barrier to start. You've already bought the shoes. You obviously like them. And all you have to do is scan the QR code once, and you can recommend that if you choose to do so. But they're all in your
exactly.
loyalty program.
And then once they are in the loyalty program, the more they share, we from time to time do inflation in their credits. So if you recommend it to whatever number of friends and you have, let's say, $100 in your account for that recommendation, and we're like, this week only, your credits got boosted 4 times, so instead of having $100, you now have 400, which is more than our shoe cost, so you can get a shoe for free.
Yeah.
And of course, if we don't boost as much, or if you don't have as much credit, I can get a 50% discount, or even if you don't get it for free, there's a lot of benefits of having these credits, because we do this all the time, and you need to be a part of this loyalty program to be able to use it. And not only that, we noticed that especially with shoes, it's something that people want to buy, and they want to buy in the beginning of the season so that they can wear it all season long. And if they're able to get it early on, the better experience they have. So this is why we launched this pre-order program, where even before we have the production ready, we show everything that we have. We already understand where the demand is, especially with shoes. We were having collections that had over 150 SKUs. Of course, not all 150 are going to perform in the exact same way. So we would have to essentially guess with data and things like that. And, understanding what wholesalers had bought. We
Call
would
that informed guessing.
exactly, but it's still guessing, and we would have to put all this in production and then launch it and then have the client buy it. Now we launch the product ahead of time. The client is already inclined to see what she wants to wear for the upcoming season. She can pre-order it for a discount. So she pays a better price for helping us kind of define where we're going to place our orders. But also we joke, she's not following the trend, she's creating it. So once she does that, she does get a better price for doing it. And she is the first one to get the product once the first batch is out because she pre-ordered it. And that has incentivized many customers to come and to be willing to buy it ahead and be excited for all the pre-orders that we have. We have almost every week a new one for what's coming next. And then when the product is ready, usually we take around 4 to 6 weeks in production, having all the supply chain lined up. And once the product is out there, we already know.
It's amazing. I mean, what a time saver, what a money saver, what an environmental saver it is, without having to produce these things that are not going to be sold. I did want to just ask one more question because I actually forgot to ask, but since you're very e-commerce focused, how do you drive traffic to your e-commerce site? What are your most successful ways to meet customers online, in social, and then drive to your e-commerce site?
So essentially, Meta is an important part of our marketing and traffic strategy. And we do invest a lot on ads,
so paid
especially
ads in Meta.
Exactly. And we've never, ever paid an influencer, but we do have a very big gifting strategy. So every time we are launching new shoes, it's part of our launch strategy, to gift a percentage of everything that's being produced and have these creators and influencers receive it before it's available to buy out there. So they already start teasing and creating the demand for it. So we are very aggressive, for a lack of a better word, in gifting. And we do have, we are very generous, even though we don't pay them to wear or to create. We've never paid any celebrity, any influencers. Everyone that we see that does bring traffic and that performs, we keep them in our ambassador program where the more it works, the more we send product and gift them. And of course they do get paid a commission for every sale they bring. So essentially,
but I guess the gap that I'm trying to fill here is you have an unbelievable way in the physical product world to have somebody who loves your products recommend it to somebody who they're in front of. But have you ever done that in the online world? I'm kind of thinking about what Replica does, what you do. We do the same thing. We both recognize the same exact issue. Word of mouth recommendations, friend to friend is just, you can't beat it. So, but it sounds like the QR code is on the physical product. Do you ever empower your network of people to share QR codes online or in social?
Again, the QR code, of course, is something physical in the product, but it does get added to clients' wallets as a link. So of course they are incentivized to share it online or whatever way that they want. We joke that right now everyone is crazy about, these selling feet pics and, whatever it is, that it became something everyone talks about. And we're like, don't sell feet pics, sell shoes. So yes, we do incentivize, being it an actual client or, of course, as I mentioned, the influencers, because they don't get paid to post, but they do get paid for what they make. So everyone that does come through them, through their link, gets paid a commission. So yes, not only real customers, but everyone that we are gifting and that is part of our network of ambassadors, friends of the brand, influencers, celebrities. The more they share, the more they get paid. And we've had influencers tell us, oh, I never wanted to do commission based with brands because I didn't think it was something, real. I wanted to get paid for the post. I'm making so much more because you really get paid for what you're doing. And we think that that's, fair and honest too, because some of them charge like, I don't even know, $300,000 for a story or a post. And and there's no guarantees or anything like that. So we honestly never gone in that direction because we feel like it's not even fair, right? We're paying without knowing what's
Right.
going to happen or any guarantees. Like, of
Right.
course, you
No,
guys,
I
you
you
have,
you've literally flipped the business model on its head in the direction that we obviously all agree is the right way to do it. If
and
people
we
could
always
start,
believe in incentive, right? So, if the incentives
yeah,
are
no
right,
problem. Right. No problem giving people incentive. If they're going to be successful, they should share in the success. So listen, I'm really inspired by this conversation, and we thank you so much for sharing your journey and also the inner workings of your brand Larroudé with us. The insights that you've given us is incredible. And I also really appreciate, the commitment to authenticity and the community. It's really inspiring. So whether you're looking to elevate your shoe game or just want a dose of optimism and style, head over to larroude.com, LARROUDE.com. Victoria, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. It's been fun.
thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I loved sharing everything with you guys and wishing you all the best of luck and success too.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.